Hey guys, this is your host of Lit Literature, JP, aka The Demon. Just wanted to give you a quick forward as usual. We just got our audio corrected, and unfortunately, the poor captain from sunny Arizona's audio was giving us trouble from his side this time. So we apologize once again. We're getting our audio situation corrected. Hopefully that's okay. Anyway, this is a sidebar episode before we get into book 2 of Stormlight Archive. It's on A Wrinkle in Time. Hopefully you enjoy it. Cheers. And we're live. This is Lit Literature and your host, JP, aka The Demon. And we're here with our normal crew and a few new members, or at least one. And so we'll get our intros going real quick. I'd like to introduce the Sunshine, member of the Shoutouts, who's finally joining us. And he's actually joining us straight from the land of the rising sun, which is pretty funny.
California.
Japan. Johnny, anything to say?
Greetings, fellow humans.
I'm totally human.
I too enjoy discussing various media with my fellow companions.
All right, interesting.
Totally not a robot.
And
we definitely did not program him.
From what was, at least in the past, the belly of a chasm fiend, and maybe now is the Shattered Plains, or who knows where, we have the captain. Where are you nowadays, my friend?
Well, I escaped the belly of the chasm fiend, and right now I'm sullenly sitting right outside of Mr. Jenkins's office, ready to have a stern talking to from the principal.
All right,
it's the captain.
Got the captain in.
Also
got the cherry, Josh. Got the hitman, Ben.
Brett, the director.
All right, and the rest of the shout-outs are MIA, at least for now. We'll see if we can get them back. Or maybe they're just, I don't know,
Tesseracting
somewhere.
Yeah.
Tesseracting, yeah. And all right, today tessering. They're tessering.
Manny tessered to a gay club in
if you
downtown
haven't,
Chicago.
if you haven't guessed it yet, we're taking a short break from our regular episodes on the Stormlight Archive, and we are going to talk about A Wrinkle in Time. Why? Because we are pre-gaming to go see the movie. So what better way to pregame and go see the movie than discuss the book that we all just read, which, by the way, coming from a Sanderson book, literally the entire book of A Wrinkle in Time was like 2 chapters in a Sanderson
Not
book.
even 2.
Yeah.
1 chapter, maybe.
Yeah.
So you could imagine that we didn't have a problem taking a quick break and handling that.
Yeah.
So real quick, let's just round table this. I'll kick it off and then you guys go. Tell me just a little bit what you felt, the whole book, all-inclusive, summary, how you felt, and then we'll talk about wherever this takes us. I'll start it just because mine's brief and I want to listen to your guys more anyway. But basically, I felt that it's been a long time since I read this, and I forgot that it was literally a kid's book. I knew it, but I kind of forgot it. You know what I mean? And it's a good kid's book, don't get me wrong. But coming from the complexities of Sanderson, I had to re-gear my mind a little bit. I almost read the first part of it, and I needed to hit the brakes and be like, whoa, just take a step back and enjoy it for what it is. And once I got that mindset down, I did enjoy it. There is something that I think, and I do think that these kind of books can potentially make good movies. Mm-hmm. The reason for that is they're written a little bit abstract. And so I can see a lot of visual freedom and even at times story freedom in an adaptation for this. So that's my feelings. And then, of course, it has some good messages, I think, and some other messages that maybe aren't good depending on what you're thinking. So that's me. Maybe we should go to the Sunshine since he's new to this.
Okay, so yeah, I'm actually not currently reading the
Stormlight Archive.
What a loser.
So your point of going from that book to this book is completely valid, but I don't think it's exclusive to people who are currently invested in a more complex book. I think it's more of a age thing, most likely, because I felt the same way. But I think it's really important to preface this discussion in kind of keeping in mind when the book was written and whom it was written for. A lot of people like to say this is a book for all ages, and it's fine if adults or people of all ages enjoy the book, then for sure it is. But you could definitely tell that the way she writes the book and the oversimplification of the concepts in the book, it's definitely for young adults. So I got frustrated throughout the book quite a bit, but I kept reminding myself, as you said, this book is in general for a younger audience, and it can't get too complicated, I think.
Right.
And also that, as well as the fact that this book was written in 1962. It's so easy to forget that. So we're reading this now, and we're so predisposed to so many complex and interesting science fiction concepts. We're kind of spoiled, with everything that we've, experienced through literature and movies. Back then, this stuff never existed.
Yeah.
Like, this is really cutting edge
It's
stuff.
almost advanced, yeah.
It's very advanced. And so what she had to do, not only was she using these interesting concepts that haven't really been written about much before, at least in a fiction setting, and also dumb it down as much as she could. I don't want to say dumb it down, I mean, a bad term, but make it simplified so younger kids can assess it and formulate it in their heads. So I had to do that multiple times throughout the book to get myself to step back and be like, and chill out a little bit. Because there's plenty of times where I'm like, why?
So just before we keep going around, just something to add, which was kind of interesting on what you said. Doing a little research on it, I had found out, and I can't remember, I think in this book, it's the original publication, but as science, as she was, kind of writing this book in a time when Einstein and astrophysics was kind of growing, she actually went back and re-released a publication where they changed the age of Miss Whatsit because they had learned the hypothetical true age of the universe.
Okay.
And I believe in our version it was still something like 600 billion something million, and in later print publications they went back and they changed it to 2 billion. Changed Miss Watsit's age to 2 billion something. So awesome. She definitely was into what was going on at the time.
For sure. Yeah, that's cool.
It was kind of neat.
Yeah, I mean, and she's obviously she's very religious as well, but so that's kind of cool that she was into science and also religious at the same time for that time period. Is pretty cool, I think. A quick question, just based on you talking about the facts in the book.
Yes.
At the time, was New York the capital of New York?
I don't know.
That is a good question. I didn't look that part up
because I was a little bit frustrated with the answers in that book. There's a part,
I totally thought that too, Johnny. She didn't say Albany, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Well, wasn't that Meg answering the question?
Yeah,
showing
she
that
does
she
hate
was
geography.
not good
it was Meg.
at other stuff besides math.
Yeah. And she actually openly hates geography.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that could be
it
it.
could be.
So it wasn't like he was the correct answers, but he was just like quizzing her since she showed she was so good at math.
Yeah.
About other stuff.
Yeah, she didn't really
and she's
like
like,
it
wow,
much.
I wouldn't
So-
want to teach this kid either.
Yeah, no kidding. So that's why the captain's outside of Mr. Jenkins' freaking office. Go ahead, director. I think your turn is up.
Me, yeah, I kind of had a lot of the same feelings. I was a little frustrated with the simplicity of the storytelling. It was obviously meant for kids, and I never read this before, ever. I never read it as a kid, so I don't have some type of nostalgic connection to it or anything like that. And especially coming from Sanderson, I do have to say though that I don't necessarily think that it's that my disconnect from the story was so much connected to age as familiarity with what?
Familiarity.
I know. With story in general, I feel like there's certain stories that work very well for people that haven't had exposure to a lot of stories. And then there's certain stories that work better for people that have had. It's kind of like, you know, anything that you get into, like if
A stepping stone.
Yeah, it's like a stepping stone into story. You need something simplistic and easy to understand. Like a lot of people get introduced to, you know, beer through lesser complex beers, like through light beers or something like that. It's almost like a light story to me, where things seem, they're very on the nose. And there was like one line that got me specifically where she's just like, oh man, I guess I've been really taking for granted my parents. And it was just like such on the nose dialogue.
Everything is so heavy-handed.
Yeah, exactly. It was like so very, but you know, I think that people that are new to characters and dialogue and story, and younger readers especially, they may need that directly, you know, kind of spoon-fed to them. But especially coming from Sanderson,
And I
was
agree.
used to more complex stuff.
And to add on, I'll just add on a little bit on everybody instead of talking too long. But to add on to that too, and also what the Sunshine mentioned as well is it's also important to keep the time in mind, because there was some things going on at the time, and a book like this was actually, it was quite difficult to get published. This kind of thing was
forever to get it published.
took a very long time. So just some things to think about, but I totally agree.
Yeah.
Also, though,
I don't think those
would-
were the things that
I nowadays
catching
no,
them.
no, they weren't. And I'm not implying that either. But the one thing that I always think about is like, when would I have my kids read this book? I think in the past, it was common for publishers to underestimate kids, and so this was even supposedly in between kids and young adults. I think nowadays, this is a true kids book. Like, I would have probably a very young kid read this.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
that's just the changing of times, which is kind of interesting.
I'm not 100% sure if I'd actually be really interested to know if kids nowadays still find this book as compelling. Because I definitely know adults that read this as kids that really enjoyed it, but like, storytelling has become such a part of even video games, and kids get introduced to video games and like more
So
complex
early
storytelling
nowadays,
early that I wonder if this would even be too simplistic for
I'm gonna
kids
do
nowadays. But I have no idea.
I'm going to take some homework from that director. I actually am going to go interview a few little kids that I know. And
And I do have, this is very anecdotal, but you know, I was doing some reading, and there were a few people online and stuff that were saying that they love the book and they share it with their kids, and their kids love
And
it
they
too.
still like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know.
Right.
It's, you know,
Yeah.
Anecdotal. It's only a couple people, so I don't know what the overall consensus would be
we'll
on that.
we'll give a little research to that, but I think, you know, all right, let's keep going. Let's get Captain, Cherry, and Hitman. We'll go in a circle.
Right on. Yeah, I'll go next. This was a first-time read for me as well. I had never read Wrinkle in Time growing up. I knew of it, and I knew other teachers in the same school who had it in their curriculum, but I never, you know, I was never obligated to read it, so I never did until now. It was a real good read. I kind of just let the whole story wash over me. I didn't really look at it with too much of a critical eye. So that being said, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I really liked Langle's organically written characters. She has this kind of free-flowing dialogue with all of her characters that almost develops them as you read this. Well, you can almost tell that the writer herself doesn't have a long-term plan for these characters, and it's developing as the story continues.
Before you keep going, Russ, could I add something to what you just said?
Yeah.
There is an interesting comment that the author made, which in an interview she said she's a slave to her characters. When she writes, she doesn't know her characters, and writing is actually her getting to know them. So just anyway, you
awesome.
literally pinpointed that like on the head. So anyway, continue.
I'm super pleased to hear that. That's really really
it's
cool.
a pretty common thing to hear from writers.
But yeah, I thought that the characters were fairly relatable. The character of Meg and Calvin and even Charles Wallace were all relatable in their ways, because they're all they have that renegade streak in them where they don't quite fit into society. And I think that most people regardless of how popular they are, probably feel like a renegade at times in
Especially
their
at
life.
that age.
Yeah, at that age, middle school age and whatnot. So I think that makes all of the main primary characters really relatable. As far as A Wrinkle in Time being a story for kids, I would say that that's a pretty complex issue, and I think that there's really a lot at work under the scenes that some really, really, really inexperienced readers would probably miss or gloss over. One really, really quick example is how Meg blames her father for not immediately solving all of her problems.
That was awesome.
I think that's an extremely deep theme that it is kind of beyond kids up to a certain age. So, I think that there is some universal appeal to this story.
Good point.
I think it's really well written characters, and the whole concept of like literally light versus dark is kind of a literary trope that we've seen a lot of. But just what Sunshine was going off of, you got to keep in mind that she wrote this story, she started writing it back in the late 50s, early 60s. So that wasn't as much of a trope at that time. So this is a pretty revolutionary story. And I think that it's really cool that she weaves some of these religious intonations and a lot of spiritualism in her work. You can definitely tell from kind of the agnostic, like, religious topics that are very, very, very subtly touched upon but not really delved into in the book. So I'm sure that L'Engle really appeals to some religious people, or it does the exact opposite. She would really upset a lot of heavily religious people.
I think a lot of people are actually turned off. Some people I've witnessed are turned off because of the religious aspects of it.
Some more research.
Yeah.
Just to add on to that real quick, just might as well. For some reason, I had the right amount of research for exactly what you guys are saying. I'm not sure. But when she wrote it and it was initially published, she was getting very frustrated with an equal amount of hate mail from religious people and an equal amount of hate mail from people who thought she was being way too religious in the science side. So she literally cut straight down. She literally cut straight down the center, and she was getting it from both sides. But then she was getting a lot of the middle ground as well. That was approving of the fact that she was applying science to religion and vice versa.
Well,
so,
normally,
I can totally see
Good.
that.
Yeah.
yeah, well, especially
That's
since
where you need to be.
normally the middle ground is where the majority is at.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, that was just a side comment I wanted to add because you guys are literally setting me up for all of this random.
All right, everyone, stop setting Jeff up. Wait, do we use real names?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
Oh, we gotta cut that out.
Well, you guys have been using all these nicknames until now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, we
Never
generally
Sunshine.
use nicknames, but
Yeah.
like Dross has like 8 nicknames. And
All right,
Cherry
John.
and Hitman. So.
He's a blessed man.
So with this book, I was very in the middle. Kind of, I had I had some highs with it, and then I had some lows immediately afterwards, because I did read this when I was younger, so I'd forgotten a lot of it, and so there was a bit of things where I would remember, or certain things would come up and be like, oh yeah. And one of the things, especially when I was younger reading this, that was alluring to me was there's science in this book. And it's really funny because the difference between then and now, reading it as a kid, I remember being like, I'm reading about quantum physics and oh, there's like this really cool stuff. Whereas being much older, and it's been around it's maybe talked a bit more in the media. It's a bit more well known that it's kind of an established thing. So for me, it was very like, oh, I remember that, and it's awesome. And then I'm like, oh, but this isn't exactly what I remembered. So there were some really kind of like up and downs when I was going through it. It seemed to be a lot of that where I would be like, oh, I remember this. We're talking about quantum physics, and I remember being like super excited when I was a kid, and then keep going and be like, oh, but this is kind of really basic. But then I had the same thing with some of her other kind of things that she did in the book. Like when they test her to the other planet and they're on another planet immediately, I'm like, what the heck? There are humans on this other planet. That just seemed too, okay, randomly this other species, this other planet happens to have humans exactly the same as us. So I was a bit like, that doesn't make any sense. But what I really loved is immediately afterwards, she was like, nope, we're going to turn that around. And she had something completely unique and just awesome kind of change of perception going to at the very end when she goes to the planet and they're the eyeless beings walking around, and how she was able to incorporate like
Beast.
incorporate this idea that what would it be like if you didn't see, what are your other feelings. So I thought that was a really cool way, especially to get you into a different, like, they don't understand seeing things in colors and stuff, whereas for us it's everything to humans.
Yet
and
somehow
people.
they still speak English.
Yeah.
Kind of. They have issues with it though.
Yeah,
No, I know, but still, it's just
Yeah.
why I can't. I don't know.
All right. Hitman.
Alright, well, I'm with Andrew. I've never read this book before. I've known it's been around for a long time. But I have to admit, I am pretty biased when it comes to books. I look at the cover, and if I don't like it, I'm not going to read it.
I don't know how you ever got through Night Angel.
The same thing happened with Night Angel.
Isn't
with
that like the
Weeks.
number one rule?
I ended up finally reading that series, and it was awesome. But for this series, I finally read it because of the movie and the podcast. And I was glad I'd never read it before. But I actually enjoyed some of the book. I really enjoyed some of the dialogue between Calvin and Charles. I really liked how it flowed, and it really was a rhythm to it, and I liked it.
Yeah.
I could get into that.
Characters were passionate.
They certainly were.
Yeah.
Maybe it had to do with how short it was. They just had
Yeah.
to exude their passion in one Sanderson-like chapter, because that's the end of the book. But anyway,
yeah,
go ahead.
My main problem, I agree with a lot of people, it's for younger kids, people
Yeah.
here. But my main problem with this series was the plot and how it advanced. I felt that
And
the
how it
author.
ended.
Well, there's more books afterwards, so hopefully they would explain more. But basically, I thought the author just decided, oh, this is enough on this section. I'm just gonna advance the plot with. There was nothing in between.
There's no plan.
Yeah, it felt rushed. At the end of the book, Meg was crying and in tears, and all of a sudden, she's like, "Nope, I understand what to do now." There's no.
Oh yeah, it was so
development,
quick.
no
It was so
nothing.
quick. It's like, wait.
Yeah.
And I
That
thought
was
that
a
was
really
throughout
quick-
the entire way of the book.
They definitely.
Can I? Oh, go
I
ahead,
was
Charlie.
gonna say
First,
they
go
definitely had.
ahead. I'll add on after.
She shied away from any internal like monologue or conversation. Everything was spoken,
External.
so it felt very that she had to invent excuses for someone to say something to kind of advance a plot or anything like that. So that I felt was kind of frustrating. I would have liked to hear the internal monologues of these people to be like, okay, what is their thought process to get from here to there?
So I want to add on to.
Even the internal monologues on Camazot were externally written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say to add on to Ben's comment. When I was reading this and I got to that section, I had to go back and reread that section 3 times because I was audiobooking in the car, or I was going to bed, or I was doing something, and the speed from which she was confronting the brain, and then at home
It happened so fast.
was so fast that sometimes I would literally I would be distracted for a moment, and then I would go, oh, what in the heck?
Yeah. It's like, oh, book's over.
I gotta go back.
Yeah.
So that was something that I caught as well.
Yeah, but
But
I was gonna say, overall, I like the book, but if you have a book list, I would put it at the bottom. There's no need to rush to read this book. It is passable.
It's a short read.
Yeah, there's much better books
So-
than this out there.
I think if you're very new
I think it's just
to reading,
Yeah.
it might be a nice intro
Yeah.
to reading.
I think it was just that so many of the concepts, they're really so interesting, and they can be developed in such a dynamic in various ways. However, I applaud her for incorporating these concepts, but at the same time, I felt she really didn't understand them herself. A lot of the science things.
Oh well,
Like,
that's fair though because back then
Probably no one understood.
Yeah.
In the
I-
60s, the
yeah.
quantum
Half-
physics was
And
Yeah.
I'm not claiming
half
to
of it was her
understand them.
imagination, which is actually more
Yeah.
impressive. To
Yeah,
me.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
more
Yeah,
impressive
she-
that she took some like rumor of science and then her imagination made it actually
Yeah.
something that we can comprehend like normally.
And it's just like so much of it felt very willy nilly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have been, and I would like to go back to something that the captain said, though, and it was is willy nilly, which I kind of agree with that, or childlike. The book seems there was some very heavy tones hidden in it, like the one Dross brought up was the blaming of the father. The other one, there was some other ones, just like the responsibility of
religion and spiritualism was
Yeah,
another
I mean-
kind of interwoven
Yeah.
theme.
Oh,
You could kind of tell that she, just like you guys were saying, she kind of lightly touches on it, but doesn't really fully explore the theme a lot. And I think it's really brave of her to incorporate those themes in a quote-unquote children's story. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that we get these days really delves deep into some of those issues and brings them like makes them current for modern day readers. So this one kind of shied away from that in a way, but it still acknowledges and gives a nod to some of those topics.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the ones was the fact that our leaders and people of power are completely incompetent, such as the witches who don't help them out at all.
so.
It's like you got to do everything yourself. I can't tell you what your secret power is. You got to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah.
Why can't you tell me? Just fucking tell me.
So I want to.
Mrs. Witch literally says, "My gift to you is telling you that you have to use your powers." But I can't tell you what they
Tell you what they are. Yeah.
Well,
Thanks a lot.
You know what though? I contribute that to like when you're playing a game and then the game's like, do you want hints on or hints off? And she was just playing with the hints on.
But
You know what I'm saying?
I guess it had to be like organic,
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't like if she knew that she had love, like her coming to the realization of it was just as important as using it.
There was another comment that she had made in a letter or an interview where she was saying that she doesn't believe that love saves all, and she made love kind of the power, right?
The
But-
author or
Yes.
the
Yeah,
character
yeah.
make?
The author, excuse. So, and what she ended up doing though is it wasn't love; it was the risk. The risk to acknowledge love is what is the actual power, because she was saying that love is too complex. It's not just love saves all, and
What does she mean by the risk?
I mean, there's always a risk, a vulnerability
Vulnerability, okay.
that you take with love, because with it comes the pain that comes with it. So that I thought was kind of interesting, because in the end, when you read it, if you read it fast, you're like, oh, love was the power.
Yeah, and that makes sense because it specifically took all those variables out of the life.
The choices, it didn't like choices
Yeah.
and free will. And
exactly.
And what it was really was she had to risk that. Her love for Charles Wallace, she had to take the risk, and because she had that love and they had that bond, the risk was to go save him. But anyway, it was kind of easy set, but I have to ask one thing before we get to more serious topics again. The serious topics, there's plenty of them. But when what was it, Christopher? Was that his name?
Christopher Wallace?
Charles Wallace.
Charles
Not Charles Wallace, the
Calvin.
friend.
Calvin O'Keefe.
Thank you. Sorry, guys. Calvin O'Keefe. So he was, I remember reading him, and when they first introduced him, maybe it was just the delivery in the audiobook, but I could be accidentally abrasive. Mm-hmm. And that guy seemed like the most abrasive son of a gun on the face. oh, hi, moron. Like the way that he just like, and maybe that was the audiobook.
He
the way
softened
that
up
they-
hardcore though.
Yeah, it was the audio.
But even
book.
that, he did soften up hardcore. But
He went
even
from,
when
like-
he realized, like, I like you, moron.
He went from like
just-
hi moron to you have the most beautiful eyes in like 5 sentences.
But one thing I was gonna say
The
that
most beautiful eyes, moron.
that intro, they're like, I'm just supposed to be here because I have this kind of like ability, the psychic ability. But his intro was like, I thought your brother was a moron.
yeah.
And then he finds out he's a
Like a
savant.
savant,
And then
almost,
he's like, okay, savant moron. Like, I'm like,
So,
oh my god.
That's actually something I have
Yeah.
to say about that. Like, I don't think Charles Wallace is normal. Like, I don't think he's a normal genius. Because I was telling Josh,
He's not.
You can't, regardless of how much of a genius you are, at that age, there's still maturity and life experience that comes into things. He had way more maturity and wisdom
Yes.
in a 5-year-old than is possible. Because
yeah.
he didn't have those experiences. So somehow, one way or the
guys keep
other,
setting me up.
there were experiences or something else coming into him. And I thought that maybe, because she's kind of religious, what if he's like the Messiah or something like that?
I have some
Because they were
research out.
talking about how Jesus was one of the lights
Yeah.
that taught evil. Maybe Charles Wallace is like a prophet or something like that.
So she actually. Oh, go ahead, Captain. I'll let you go
I was
first.
just gonna piggyback off of that and say, I mean, all of the references to a lot of the great minds throughout history, like Rembrandt and Gandhi and stuff, you know, they're putting them on that pedestal a little bit. And Charles Wallace definitely fits that trend in that he was the one who was most tested and had to go through the most conflict in this first story.
Yeah.
So he definitely fits that role as like someone who's above everyone else and is kind of has a lot more responsibility and power than everyone else.
I mean, he went through the most like trials, but like, didn't he also kind of get taken in by him?
Yeah,
But I think that's gonna show that he's gonna have to grow from that. Meaning, like, he's gonna be the most
there are additional
powerful.
books,
yeah,
right?
he's gonna be.
Yeah.
There's 4 more.
Something that was commented from the author, and this was the granddaughter of the author that was commenting on this conversation.
Was it the afterwards?
Yeah, like after it was written, there was a lot of questions about Charles Wallace, and that in discussion, the author had noted that Charles Wallace, maybe she didn't like necessarily know, but was kind of commenting on that he might be a mutant or the next evolution of humanity. What does that sound like?
I was
Charles
thinking, I was
Wallace, the
thinking
first
somewhere
X-Men?
religious. But
Okay, Charles Xavier.
I was thinking.
Wait, Charles Xavier, where did that name come from? When does this timing align? What's going on
I don't know.
Just bringing some connections.
One thing that I know they kind of mentioned that like all the fighters from Earth that have been fighting the Dark Thing were all these like historical figures. One thing that I have to say kind of frustrated me a little bit is when she's like, oh, just who do you think are going to be the people who did it? And he literally just named like 5 famous people, and it was like, yes.
Yeah.
That frustrated me quite a bit.
He's,
to be like,
kind of
oh,
psychic.
every person that comes to your mind is fought for
Well,
the
who is
good.
naming him? Who is naming
It
him?
was Calvin.
Oh, well, Calvin has powers too.
Yeah, but still,
funny-
they just be
the
like,
funny
oh,
thing is-
just give me some famous people from your time.
the
And they're
funny-
like,
the-
Jesus?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not like he mentioned the Kardashians.
No, I know,
He's
I know.
mentioning like some pretty
I
amazing
know, but
people.
what do we really know about those amazing people? I bet you a handful of the amazing people that they listed were probably just dickbags in real life.
Like,
Like a Thomas Edison type figure.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of people that accomplish amazing things are kind of.
But were they
jerks
fighting
in
the
certain
light? Or
Yeah.
were they fighting for the lights?
Well, I don't think you have to be perfect to fight the light.
I'm just
so I do think before we go on that, I want to propose the first Brett bet.
What?
And my
Oh wait, are
bet-
we actually gonna keep
Oh, we're
reading
doing
the
it.
series?
We're doing
Are we
it.
reading this?
No.
As the movies come out.
No. We are gonna
we're
as
gonna
the
talk
Brett
about
bet
the
on
movies.
the movie. We're gonna do a
Oh,
Brett
okay,
bet.
that's good. Okay.
My Brett bet is, will they
I'm gonna win.
portray the it as a giant brain in the movie? And it's either a yes or a no. And I think in the whole concept of the the books,
Like
it
physically
works,
or
but-
described?
No, they're gonna show
gonna-
it when she
Is it going
confronts
to actually be shaped
Is
like
it
a
gonna
human
be
brain?
just
Yep,
a brain?
yep, exactly.
No.
And
Let's keep it
I
fast.
say no.
All right. No.
Wait, what do you think it's gonna be then?
Wait,
They're gonna do some other thing.
Let's talk about it after this.
Yeah, we can
podcast.
talk about it if you gotta make a decision.
I'm gonna say yes then.
I'll say yes.
I'm gonna definitely say no.
I'm gonna say no.
Dross.
I'm gonna say no. I think it's just gonna be a white dude.
Because they wanted to get a personality for it.
All right, first part back. Now,
That makes
if
sense,
you
actually.
lose, this is gonna be a shot.
No, but
and
they
we're
already,
doing
they already
10
got
points.
hurt. Oh, you know what? Well, it doesn't matter. I kind of think I know why. I think there is a good reason why you guys might be right. Because audiences like to see the antagonist.
They want to
Yeah.
personify it.
Yeah.
And just the giant brain is like an
So how many of you? already know it? How many of you already know the answer to this and
No.
just made the
None of
bet?
us.
None of us.
I'm just guessing.
I don't necessarily agree with that they're gonna personify it, but I don't think that's gonna be a brain. I don't think that's visually appealing enough. I think that it's either it could be a person, it could be an actor, or it might just be
Well,
like a
if
dark,
but if you're
misty
a
entity.
zombie, it'd be plenty appealing.
So I got another one real quick. So I think.
Well, I have
that
a
they-
ton of theories
Yeah, I have a shit
on
ton
the
of
movie, so
Well, I think that they're gonna go and add in. Because the book's so short, it's easy to adapt. So they have a lot of freedom to add in extra story.
But the thing is, it's so vague.
Yeah,
it's not
very
explained
vague.
clearly.
No, that's perfect
Yeah,
visually for
But the thing
director.
is the movie can't be the same then.
No,
Because you can't be that vague with the movie.
the story can be the same, but the overlying points
Have to
but
be-
they have
yeah.
so much freedom to do this kind
Yeah,
of creative
I
thing,
agree.
and I think that they're gonna do a lot of the father's story instead of it just being like, hey, he shows up and they find him. It's gonna be like
Chris Pine.
he's gonna.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
all right.
okay.
I was just gonna say that, I mean, I'd like to. I mean, if we're talking about the movie now, I'd like to
Well,
just
I have
go
so
through
much to talk about.
Yeah,
exactly.
okay.
but
Let's
we-
let the
we could-
director.
It's
guys,
funny. This
guys,
book is so short, but we could
Fair.
talk about this for hours.
This is the problem with.
I'm
every
gonna go
book that
through
we do
really
in the
quick
literature,
exactly
guys.
what I think is gonna happen in the movie.
Let's let the director do this
Based
because
on
he's the-
adaptation and what I know about Hollywood, these are the things that I think are going to change. One, definitely, I think Chris Pine is going to be in the beginning. They're going to show more of the mom and dad story and stuff like that before it ends up happening. And that, I think, is either going to end with Meg waking up from a nightmare or her having a heart-to-heart with her dad, and then all of a sudden we flash forward to him being gone. That's what I think is going to happen.
Keep going.
Next, I think they're going to get rid of the religious aspect of it completely. I think it's going to be turned into a self thing.
Oh, for
I think they're
sure.
going to get
I
rid
agree.
of religion completely. They're not going to make any mention of Jesus. It's going to be a self inner thing. I think that's going to be the updated kind of version of it, where they're going to say self empowerment, self this, self that. It's all going to be self designed, and yeah, those are the two main. I mean, that's the big theme of it. I mean, there was a lot of religious parts of it, and I think the biggest change is going to be the fact that they delete the religion out of it
I
completely.
agree with you because this movie is already definitely pushing the progressive bill.
Yeah.
With the it's interracial. It's
Right.
It's just progressive. The main characters are
So
what a great
exactly
color,
that makes you think.
and
You could also think.
I don't think they're going to go with religion because religion is more considered more conservative.
But
so.
you also could say that there's a possibility that maybe they'll go the opposite direction, and because she did say Jesus and Gandhi, which is a Buddhist.
Yeah, I
person,
agree.
Maybe they're going to
that's
go
true.
with
That's true.
all religions are going to be this whole
I don't think so.
that's a bit too controversial.
I-
but
I
there
don't
could
think
be
it's
a possibility.
controversial. I think that I just feel like that right now, I feel like back when it was made, religion seemed like a good solid anchor point of, these are kind of like the values of the time.
Well, she's
Whereas-
also pretty religious.
right, and she's religious.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, I feel like there's a lot of emphasis on you can do what you put your mind to, and I think that that's going to be kind
Yeah,
of the
I agree.
the direction that they go.
Real quick, guys. The captain has to go to a slightly earlier movie than we do.
All right, you
and
got-
I want to
yeah,
ask
let's-
him before he
let's go.
goes off to the movie, which we will be joining him in the next half an hour.
All right, go.
Where any last comments, Dross?
What do you expect?
Insights? Leave us with a discussion topic for the next 5 minutes while you get a head start.
I was just going to say, was it confirmed that Oprah is Mrs. Witch or Mrs. What's It? Did we?
I bet you.
I think
It's totally
100%
gonna be
Mrs. Witch. I think
think
Mindy
Mrs. Witch
Kaling
is
is going to
never
be Mrs.
visible.
What's It.
Oh, they don't care. They can change.
Yeah,
it.
they're gonna
change
change
it.
it.
It's, I think it's
She's the
Miss
most
Witch.
powerful.
And you
one.
see all three in
She's
the
also the
commercial.
oldest too, and Oprah's the oldest out of the.
I mean,
three
they could
actresses.
change that, but I think Mindy Kaling's going to be
Wait,
What's It.
so is it gonna be Reese Witherspoon
Is she
or
gonna talk in a long drawl?
No,
who's gonna be
Mindy-
Miss What's
No,
It?
Reese Witherspoon's going to be the middle.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
The middle.
Agreed.
What was her name?
Miss
Kelly from The
Who?
Office is
Yeah.
actually going to be What's It.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
No, she's going to be. Oh yeah, Kelly from The Office is going to be What's It.
And also, Zach
yeah.
Galifianakis, I think, it takes kind of one of those roles.
He's gonna be the Oracle.
Yeah.
I'm calling it. They're doing a sex change. He's
That's
gonna be the
awesome.
Oracle.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
god, that was so
Yeah.
fucking cool.
He's for sure the Oracle.
Oh my god, I'm not gonna be able to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, because I don't want to see anything depressing. Why do I have to look at that? This is stupid.
All right.
See you
later,
Captain.
Captain. We will catch you on the
see
flip
you
side
after.
when we record
Catch you on the
the
flippity
post
flop.
movie part 2 of Wrinkle in Time.
But
Side story.
the one thing I do wish, I don't know, I wish they didn't cast Oprah as a
Yeah,
character
I
in this
agree.
movie.
I agree.
Because I feel it's gonna be Oprah playing Miss Witch, and not Miss Witch as
How
played by
Miss Witch
Oprah.
was supposed to
No,
be.
no. Her
personality
It's gonna
is
be
strong.
no. It's gonna be like, oh, this is a movie and it has Oprah in it. It's not gonna
No,
be like.
Oprah has precedent of being an actress.
Does
like
she?
she's a good actress.
She's
yeah.
She's
a fantastic actress.
But I think
it's not going to be just Oprah.
I feel like it's just gonna be Oprah, and she won't be able to
But
get
if
it.
you think
I
about
would-
it,
oh,
though,
there's Oprah.
I don't know.
do you think? But do you think
I-
honestly though that with Oprah having as much pull power as she has, that they're gonna because Miss Who is or no
Miss
Witch.
So what you think is
probably
that they're
the
gonna
least
actually,
exposure
Yeah,
in the movie.
they're going to put more into that character than they should.
because she's the pull.
So
I
you
mean,
know-
yeah,
you know,
but I don't
honestly-
really have a problem with that because, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it would take away from the story if some of that pull was put towards that character. I almost envisioned, even though they were individual characters, in my head, I almost envisioned that trio as like one entity anyway. So however you distribute the power is going to have the same impact for me, but maybe you guys had a different experience.
I have a different experience, but when I know when I'm gonna see Oprah on screen, all I'm gonna think about is you get a call. Everyone gets
You get a
call.
Tesseract, and you get a Tesseract! Everybody gets a Tesseract!
And you
I
get
don't
some
feel that
glasses.
she's gonna be.
But you
able
gotta
to
pay the taxes
carry
on your
through.
gifts. Just joking. I'm sorry.
I haven't seen
She
the
does
movie, so I
fantastic
can't
things.
say
I
just
just
my
was-
prediction that I'm gonna see this character, and all I'm gonna think is Oprah. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
think. Miss Witch.
I'm excited.
It could
I'm
be that
excited
way.
for how they present the. I don't know if this is like a personal thing or not for me, but I'm really excited how they present the basically the biracial concept, because obviously this film is kind of going for that to a certain extent.
Right, sure.
You know, like how you got. Right now, the big political themes are representation,
Yeah.
in media,
Uh-huh.
and with Black Panther and all that stuff. And
Uh-huh.
I think it's really cool that they're kind of trying to like meet in the middle here,
Yeah.
and being like, hey, we're all fucking people. It doesn't matter, like just the black, white. Okay, these people are together here,
Yeah.
and they have a daughter who's just biracial, and it doesn't matter what color she is, you know, like it just
Yeah.
And
and
I think
it
it's-
shouldn't matter in any sense whether
I
you're
think that's
white or
how they're
black.
going to approach it.
And
I
I-
think they're
and
going
I-
to approach
and I
it
think that's
as
really
not being
cool.
important.
And I just think that's interesting. Like I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
That's
You know-
actually something you don't see a lot of.
And this is a great book to do it in too, because of how kind of abstract it was written. Also,
Yeah.
you could almost imagine any.
Oh yeah, there was
no
nothing.
descriptions of the characters
Yeah,
besides
Right, except
like,
Calvin.
yeah.
Calvin.
Yeah, but even so,
I think
even
blue,
so.
I think Blue Eyes maybe would have
Yeah.
been mentioned. you said.
Calvin's
But like,
definitely
I don't
Irish.
care about that.
Calvin's like so Irish.
The director and I too
Yeah.
talked a little bit about this in any film, and it's really that I think that we both care more about the acting job the
Yeah.
person delivers as long as
Yeah.
he's true to the character, it's
He or
almost like
she,
that
yeah.
thing where when you have an adaptation to a book, a lot of people get up and like they hate it and all this. And the
Yeah,
one thing
yeah.
that I need more than anything else is not that you follow the book necessarily. The feeling has
Exactly,
to be
yeah.
the right.
The
like
right feeling.
The feeling when I read it, you have
Yeah.
to somehow emulate it on.
Because
Well,
you can't make it perfect.
no, you
Yeah,
never
no, you
will.
can't.
You
And
never
one
will.
thing I'm really excited about is I'm really excited about Cosmos, the planet.
Casamot.
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 Or Casamot. Something
Yeah,
like that.
but
But
I'm
that
sure.
planet, how well, I'm really excited to see how they're going to adapt that because I
Visually.
think that was one of the places where she
That was my favorite part.
did so much more
Yeah.
than everything else.
By far,
just
that was
the
the-
feeling. Because
yeah, I
the rest of
agree,
the book
yeah.
is very dialogue driven and it's just like two people talking.
From this to this to this to
Well,
this.
exactly, and all of a
that-
sudden they put you in a situation where you are experiencing this from these kids, and there's this eerie like feeling, and I truly enjoyed that through that entire,
I
and
100%
even
agree.
seeing the little kind of the little teasers of everything's not
That's the
perfect.
only- that's
the
the
little
only
things
part
that
I-
like
I get-
the
I get a
person
feeling
running up
we
late.
liked.
I get a feeling that the how they're going to visually represent that is basically exactly like Earth, but in this kind of like cookie cutter way. Like everything's the same.
And
I
the
think
ti-
I think it's going to be just like transporting to Earth, but if Earth was, you know, like a Disney ride where everything is just animatronic, and
Yeah.
it's just the
Yeah.
House of
Yeah.
Presidents where it
It's-
just happens in a loop, you know?
It's
Yeah.
weird though, because the way I pictured that scene and everything, like I never got faces.
Yeah.
Like everyone was. You ever see like I don't know, movies or games where they kind of have these scenes like that, and then they have the characters kind of like be a shadow, like or it's just like a gray like shadowy face or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's how I imagined everyone. No
Yeah.
one had a face really.
Yeah.
All right, I think, guys, it's time for us to end our pregame and go see this bloody film.
Oh,
Yes.
we should end on like one more bet.
One more bet.
All right, well,
No.
Is are they gonna open how I said?
Are they going to open with interactions between
Chris
Meg
Pine.
and Chris Pine, the father?
all right,
Yes.
here, I'm going to start this off, and I think that they're going to open with Chris Pine only.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think they're gonna open with Meg like getting bullied at school or being, being.
Wait. So
being
is the
little
Brett
brat
bet?
that
yeah,
she
yeah.
is.
Yeah, is
We're
the
not betting on
Brett
how it opens.
Yeah, is the Brett bet
Oh.
that it's going to start with Chris Pine and Meg interacting, or is it going to be how it was in the book where he's already gone?
Chris Pine is going to be there.
Yes.
But in a flashback or whatever you're saying.
However,
I think it's either
in
gonna
the
be a
intro- in the
flashback-
beginning of the film.
I said two options though. I said
Yeah,
it's either
yeah.
going to be her waking up from a dream where it's a flashback, or it's going to be he suddenly disappears after a heart-to-heart talk.
So
in his
basically,
bedroom.
he's in the first scene. He's in the beginning. Opening
No, I think
beginning.
we need to
All right,
know.
that's-
I think
that's
we
it.
need to
Opening
define:
scenes.
is it going to be current time or is it going to
No,
be?
no, no, no,
Let's
that's
just
fine.
say,
Everyone's
is
gonna
he
vote
in the
for-
beginning of the
Yeah.
film or is he absent?
I'm gonna.
No,
everyone's gonna vote
opening
yes.
scenes. No, not beginning. Opening scenes.
Opening
Opening
scene.
scene, yes.
Ah,
He's in
opening
it. He's in the opening scene.
I
Okay,
say
that's
yes.
more descriptive.
I just said he's alone, but I'm going to say that for my own benefit.
Opening scene.
That's what we got to go on. We can't
Yeah.
be willy nilly about this. Like
It's
the whole
saying
too.
yes.
It's too. Everyone's gonna vote yes.
I mean,
Otherwise,
that's just that's just a guess.
Is he going to be in the
ticket.
opening scene?
Yeah.
He's not going to be in the opening scene. He'll be in like maybe the second scene.
I mean, I
yeah,
totally
this is
agree
just a
with
guess.
the director that he is
Oh,
gonna
okay,
be in the
okay,
beginning.
okay.
Isn't that what Brett
So-
said?
Brett wants something more complex. What do you want?
I mean, I want something that you can at least like have a chance to do with, based off of some type of knowledge of
Let's
something.
say if he's.
But everyone's gonna agree with you that
here's
he
how,
is gonna be in the beginning.
I think.
Well, what do you want to
No,
bet?
time out. Let me pitch this. So,
Okay.
like Brett said, in both his examples, Chris Pine is there in the beginning of the movie, whereas
Yeah.
if the book starts and he's only mentioned,
He's gone. Yeah.
So I'm
But when
saying
you
we
mention
say
him, you still get an image of him. So I agree with of course I totally agree with yes he will be.
It's obvious he's
but
gonna be in the
if
beginning.
he's
of the movie.
mentioned, it doesn't matter. He's
No,
in
he's
the
not gonna be-
first several scenes. Like, give it a few.
Is
But
he
he's
physically
got to
there?
make an
Yeah, he'll be
appearance
there.
in the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
several
100%.
scenes, right?
And yes,
Yeah,
100%.
I mean, everybody's gonna say yes.
Yeah, that's why I didn't
All right,
agree.
then what do you want the Brett bet to be?
I
Then?
don't know.
All right, here's my
Who's
Brett
gonna
bet
hate
then.
the movie the most?
Oprah. This is the bet. Okay, no. Here's the Brett bet then. This is what we'll end on. Oprah is gonna be Mrs. Witch, I think. And my bet is that Oprah, even though she's not gonna play a true Miss Witch, will make tics, like personal attributes that come from the strange character of Mrs. Witch.
The snake aspect of her, that she elongates all of her syllables.
Something like that. Like
She's a very drawn out.
Like, so,
pattern.
because Ben said she'll just be Oprah, but I'm saying, like, I think that she'll give something.
Well, I can't
from-
imagine
Well,
her not trying.
I'm
She might
hearing.
not.
No, I
what
think she
meant by
won't.
that is that Oprah
So you think she's gonna
has
suck?
to be more Oprah than Miss Witch.
No, she's going to play more Oprah than Miss Witch. I think she's
Yeah.
going to add Miss Witch in.
I think in terms of the elongated syllables and
so
talking like a,
subjective,
a snake, she will not.
No, it's supposed to be. This is just fun, guys. Come on, just take a bet and let's do
Yeah,
it.
I think she should be more Oprah than Miss Witch.
Me and Ben.
We're all gonna drink anyway after this, so who cares?
All right, and we'll leave it to that, folks.
What's your vote, Jeff?
I said that she's Witch.
All
I'm gonna
right,
put
Brett,
some Witch in there.
the director.
I think she's going to be very I don't know.
Oprah.
I guess she's gonna be very Oprah-like.
Yeah,
or
I think,
maybe she was more
I think she's
cast.
gonna be more Oprah than Witch. But keep in mind, this
Yeah.
bet will never get resolved because it's all gonna be due to perception.
It's gonna
Don't worry, guys. Jeff will lose.
Okay, all right. Well then, hold on. How about
pretty
this?
sure Jeff
I
said
have
this
a
is
Brett
Miss
bet.
Witch.
then.
Okay,
Okay, I have an actual Brett bet because it's coming from Brett.
There we go.
Who gives Meg love? Is it going to be Oprah's character or Mindy Kaling's character or Reese
Well,
Witherspoon's
according to the
character?
book, it should be.
I know what the book says, but what is going to
It says
happen in the
witch, right?
movie?
In the book,
What's
it
gonna
will be
happen in the
Mindy.
movie?
It'll
No,
be
no,
Mindy.
no. Miss Witch tells her.
No, Mindy Kaling gives it to her in the book.
Oh, no. Actually, it is
Miss
Miss Witch.
What's It?
Miss What's It says, I'll
Miss
give
Witch
you my
gives
love.
her love, but Miss Witch tells her at the end because she wanted to hold her when she went.
Miss Witch is the one who took her, right?
Yes.
So she's the one who she didn't give her love. She told her her power.
Yes.
Or she has a power. So Miss What's It is the one who gave her love.
Miss
Yes.
What's It's the one that gave her
Miss
love.
What's
Yeah.
It gave her love.
And do you think that that's going to stay
Yes.
Miss What's It?
Yes.
Or do you think they're going to give it to Oprah?
I'm gonna
Oprah.
stay.
I'm gonna stay because Oprah has a different role.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's going to stay with Miss What's It.
I'm gonna stay.
Yeah,
Stay.
Oprah, I mean, all
So
right.
2 stays.
All right, that's the
All right,
bet.
folks.
Let's do it.
Cheers.
Let's go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
We're about
Cheers.
to go see a movie.